It was a dark and rainy night. The storm roared furiously as Jake adjusted the headlights of his old car. A relic from decades past that seemed to have more macabre stories to tell than the roads it had traveled. He had no choice but to keep driving. The road ahead stretched as far as the eye could see, shrouded in darkness that seemed to devour any trace of light. Jake was on his way to visit his grandmother, who lived in an isolated house in the middle of the forest. She had insisted that he visit before the storm worsened. He never much liked driving, especially on nights like that, but he couldn't ignore her request. As the rain fell relentlessly, he realized he was alone on the deserted road. There was no sign of life for miles. Only the sound of rain pounding on the car's roof and the intermittent noise of the windshield wipers filled the silence. Jake tried to stay calm, but the feeling of being watched haunted him. He couldn't help but glance at the back seat, as if something or someone were about to appear at any moment. Each ominous flash of lightning revealed twisted trees and eerie shadows that seemed to move. As the night wore on, the storm seemed to intensify. The wind howled through the trees, creating sounds that echoed in Jake's mind like whispers of nightmares. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, trying to focus only on the road ahead. That's when he spotted something in the middle of the road, a dark figure standing in the middle of the highway looking like a living shadow. Jake slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding uncontrollably. The rain was falling so heavily that he could barely see what it was. When the windshield wipers swept away the water, he saw it. It was a woman dressed in a long white gown that was drenched and clinging to her body. Her black, unkempt hair hung over her pale, contorted face. Her eyes were empty, lifeless. She stood with her back to him as if waiting for something. Jake was frozen in fear, but a sense of compassion overcame him. He couldn't leave a helpless woman out in that storm. He turned off the engine and got out of the car, running toward the figure. "Do you need help?" he shouted, his voice lost in the noise of the rain. The woman didn't turn to look at him. She remained motionless like a statue. Jake finally reached the woman and touched her shoulder. She turned slowly, revealing a face twisted by a terrifying smile. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. "You are lost," she whispered, her voice sounding like an echo from a nightmare. Before Jake could react, she reached out for him, and her skin was as cold as death. He recoiled, horrified, and rushed back to the car, starting the engine and speeding away from that terrifying apparition. The shadowy figure was left behind in the darkness and rain, but her contorted face and sinister smile continued to haunt Jake's nightmares. As he continued his solitary journey on the drenched road, Jake knew that the rainy night of horror in the car would never leave his mind. But what he didn't yet know was that the dark road and the shadows that inhabited it held more secrets and horrors than he could ever imagine. What else lurked in the depths of that ominous night? What else was to come on that sinister road? These were questions that would haunt him as he drove into the unknown, wishing he had never left home that night.